essentially wanted to start the podcast because we have so many conversations in WhatsApp that we feel like other people would be really interested in and kind of like engage
in like the most narcissistic way possible.
We thought interested.
We thought you might want to hear what we have to say.
And so we kind of wanted to put this together and like start up conversations with people online, like create some kind of community with people who like engage with literature in the same way that we do. Yeah.
So it's not going to be a podcast where we are delving into every single little piece of theory and lore, although we do have like some bits where we will do that, but it's not going to be, we're not going to be on top of every single new book release.
No,
that's never going to be us.
And like don't expect like essay level like pulling stuff apart and talking about like semiotics and whatever else, because
although we do a little bit of that,
a little bit, but not on like I'm going to write a dissertation right now. I think we like enjoy the kind of like silly side of like reading, where it's kind of like we love to laugh at like tropes and like the like silly like bits that you read in romance.
Yeah, but we also lean into them as well. Like we are fandom hardcore through and through. 100%. Like we were Twilight girlies. We are Harry Potter girlies. Like we aren't like shy to say that we love something. Yeah. Like, and we don't think it's uncool or weird to enjoy something. Yeah. That's not us.
I think like the main reason that we ever became friends as well is because of these like things, like because we get obsessed with things so much.
Oh my god, I love that. Do you just think of it?
No, like I think that is like when we first met, like one of the first things we talked about was like Mighty Boosh, and we used to just like repeat it to each other.
He was a question on Pointless the other day.
Oh, for real?
And I couldn't remember his name. The other guy that's in the Mighty Boosh.
Oh my god, what is his name?
I forgot it again.
I can remember Howard Moon, but not.
It was Pointless as well. Oh. And I thought of you because we'd watched Pointless.
Oh my god, what is his name?
He's from Leeds, isn't he?
Julian.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so
I said to Kurt you would get it, but clearly I was wrong.
I feel like if I really thought about it, I could. But yeah, that is like the main thing. Like when we met at uni, which was over 10 years ago now. A lot has happened since then. We're 30. We've got nothing better to do. And so, yeah.
We have a lot of hobbies though.
Oh, for real.
Yeah. But this is more like, okay, we've kind of deviated, but it's more like girls chat meets book chat is kind of where we're going to go with this, we think.
Yeah. So, this is our first episode and we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess I should say I've never stopped reading. And you've never stopped reading. We've always been readers.
Yeah. I feel like for me, my personality is that I get obsessed with something really quickly. Like if I really like something, it's my personality for like the next like year. And so I've always read, but I
never like what have you been so obsessed with?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm gonna say Korean dramas.
Like anything East Asian, Korean dramas, Korean music. Yeah, that's still my personality to this day.
Yeah,
but for me, like reading, obviously, like everyone knows, like ACOTAR is like has just become like such a massive thing. And
it's like a phenomenon, like literally.
And like we wanted to read it because we thought it would be funny. Like it started off as kind of like, this is such a big thing. We want to know what it's all about.
But also like we were coming out of summer, so it was only like 2 months ago, really. We were coming out of summer. Like, we were like, let's do something cozy. Like, we were getting into that space. And then, like, we wanted, like, a bit of an excuse to start up a book club, really, and, like, meet up in, like, cute pubs around West Yorkshire and spend some time together. So, and we've all been meaning to read it for a while. So, we've joined the book club with our friend Sarah. And she's been meaning to read it for a while. She actually went in more blind than we did into ACOTAR.
Yeah.
Like, because we'd watched a lot of, like, fan videos, because we watch a lot of YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So we'd watched a lot of fan theories and, like, fan videos and, like, plot summaries. Shout out to Carrie Cam Reid for that amazing plot summary. Like, but we didn't really take it in, I don't think. Because then when I read it, I was literally like...
Yeah, like...
I don't remember this video at all.
There was parts of it where I was like... I feel like she didn't go over this. And then I, like, rewatched her video, like, after we'd read it. And I was just like, oh, my God, like, everything she's saying, like, has more meaning, and like I feel like one of those things that we love about reading is like the differences in like how you see things inside your head, and that was one of those moments where I was like, the way she described it, although amazingly and beautifully, was so different to how when I read it, like I visualized. I think when
you reread something as well, like you can see it so differently to what you thought the first time, like
yeah.
But basically, yeah, so why did we start reading again?
Because everyone else would.
Because we hate to be left out, okay?
We literally just wanted to but we never the gag.
Well, we never stopped reading, but we just like we got back into ACOTAR, and then we started listening to like loads of people's podcasts and stuff about it, and there was no one talking about it in the way that it was like actually being like, what the fuck is this? But also like it's great, we loved it, like don't get us wrong, it's great.
Yeah, like we're not here to like pull it apart and like rip it to shreds because we're obsessed. And, Sarah J. Maas is like queen and
we are in her universe now, like we are part of this, but like no one talks about it in the way that's like, what the fuck am I reading? Like everyone's like, oh my god, Rhysand, like come and be my husband, whereas I'm literally having like actual physical reactions to how much I'm like, oh Rhys, this is not it, like he's a gym bro and you can't tell me any different, and in real life a lot of people would not be attracted to him.
No, literally, like if imagine someone like stole you away like every like few weeks, you'd literally be like, this guy's a psychopath. But I think that's one of like the endearing qualities of it, is like you get to like escape, and like that's like okay in that universe, whereas real life you'd be like, not a chance. Like I'm calling the police, I'm putting in a report, you're going to be on a list. And so like we just loved having those like initial conversations, and then I feel like I've like continued down that path, and now like Throne of Glass is like my entire personality, because I love Selena Sardothien, like I'll never stop.
Whereas I can't even say her name, like she is celery sardines to me. every time I read it, I'm like, so you've got like into Throne of Glass now, and I'm only reading it, so we're gonna do some videos on that experience, because that's been funny, because I've been like sending you my theories since the first book.
And I think one of like the most interesting parts about the difference between us is like you can't stand like certain like fantasy like standards, or like I don't even know what to call it, like creatures. Like
it is creatures. I love humans, like I just love human characters like so much. Like I just read Project Hail Mary, which is a sci-fi book that Roisin told me to read, my sister, and one of the main characters is a fucking spider. Like I'm sorry, come on, like that is not for me. I read the whole book, but like
you just can't
I can't do it. I'm literally like, this is a spider.
Like how are you conversing with this spider?
It even pisses me off in Harry Potter whenever the fucking rat is a human. I'm like,
this is not right.
I'm also not a Hedwig like stan.
Yeah.
Although I do like Dobby.
Oh, that's
But he feels human.
Yeah, like a tiny little cute human.
Yeah.
I think like, because we both love Lord of the Rings as well, that's like one of the things, like when we were at uni we'd just watch Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter like over and over. Like I've wanted to be an elf since a child, like it's not normal. Like I wish I could live in Rivendell and like
frolic.
Yeah, like I want to catch the boat at the end of my like eternal life. And
but like elves are human, come on, like
but they're similar to Fae, and I think that's why I
aren't they the same, really?
I would say so, yeah. Like what is the difference other than maybe like magic? Like
should we look up the difference between elf and Fae?
That's a good one, yeah.
Elves.
We're gonna like go into this big deep thing where we now decide like whether a dragon is a wyvern and a wyvern is like
we're probably not gonna go that deep. Fae are any creature that is not human. That would include elves. Okay, so Fae is like,
I guess in the like Massiverse, like Fae includes like fairies, and like there's all those different kind of like
Sarah googled the difference, I reckon, in
she was like,
well, Fae is just the species, I guess.
But yeah, I feel like I find it easier to like just accept that. Like I'm nervous for you to get into like the next few Throne of Glass series books, because there's going to be witches, there's going to be dragons, and I just know you're going to...
Dragons?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, no, not dragons. Sorry, wyverns.
Because you're reading Fourth Wing,
yeah,
so you've got dragons on
dragons
the
on the brain. There's a very specific difference between a wyvern and a dragon.
Oh, my God. Do you need to tell it right now?
No. I feel like anyone watching this probably knows, so...
I actually don't know.
I mean, the main difference is that wyverns have only 2 legs and dragons have 4, or it might be the other way around.
See, this is not.
Yeah, like you just be like, it's got wings.
I wouldn't give a shit. Yeah,
like
this is why, like, I just love human characters. Like, my characters need to be human.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like when people write characters that are creatures, they try to make them human anyway. They give them human qualities, like love, or...
You're not gonna like Fourth Wing. Like, I don't see you reading that anytime soon. Like, unless you can picture a dragon.
Well, I'm gonna read it, aren't I?
You. Like,
shut up, they can speak. Yeah. It's like when Smaug starts speaking, isn't it? And
I love that.
No, I'm lost at that point. Fast forward. Like, stop.
I love that. But yeah, I guess that's the difference between us, is that I could easily accept. I think, like, if a dog talked to me in the street, I'd be cool with it. You would have a mental breakdown and you're like, reality would collapse.
I fucking hope yours would too. How many dogs are you chatting to in the street?
That's a dream come true.
Fucking hell. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not looking forward. So, this is jumping into Throne of Glass, which we will do an episode on, but in Hour of Fire, I've just got to the bit where Selena was talking about how her like animal state is a human.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? And I'm because I don't really feel like that was covered at the end of Crown of Midnight. Maybe I was just too involved in her and Chaol's relationship that I was just not even paying attention to her turning into a fairy.
Yeah, I think that because there's no like magic in Adalin, well, like little to none, like it's almost like she couldn't, like she got so stuck in her human state. But I feel like it isn't really ever explained like why she chose human, or whether it's just that. Well, it's like she's stuck in that human state, isn't she? And then she only transformed like when she felt a like threat almost.
Yeah, because when so the only bit I've seen her transform at the minute is whenever Chaol ran after
Fleetfoot.
I just want to say Fleetwood Mac every time.
Fleetwood Mac.
When Cole ran after Fleetwood Mac into another realm, and she became like some big thunderous version of herself, and he was like shit scared.
Yeah, he was like, no, girl. I was like,
not for me, am I?
He got the ick immediately.
Literally, he was like, this is not what I signed up for.
Can we go back to when you were like an innocent, like a very well, like fighting, like girl?
A girl, literally, is what he wanted, wasn't it? So, problematic, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's kind of what were we talking about? Why we started reading again?
Yeah, pretty much. And just like the differences between us.
Yeah.
But the whole like idea of the kind of like idea behind the podcast being like female main character is that I think both of us are quite like attached to female main characters. Like, and I feel like that is why ACOTAR has done so well, and you know, like a lot of the other ones like Fourth Wing and Powerless and everything else, like they've got these really strong and like complex two main characters. You might disagree about Feyre because I know you hate her, but
yeah, but I love to hear it as well, don't I?
Yeah, and I think like that's a good thing. Like there is a main character where she does have like flaws and she's kind of irritating sometimes, and she makes decisions where you're just like, are you stupid?
Book one's insufferable.
Oh yeah.
But then like as with any series, you get like super involved in that person's life that you almost do root for them, don't you? So they become more likable just because you are seeing things through their eyes. Whereas like, and this is something that we talk about all the time, is like you could tell a story through the villain's lens and you will root for the villain, because that is how stories work. Like you side with whoever is telling you their POV, don't you? Which is like something I adore. like, if, like, there's some ACOTAR theories that say that they're actually going to turn out to be, like, the overarching villains of this whole series that Sarah's writing. I would love that, like, absolutely down, because, like, my favourite people are the villains. Like, that's why I hate when Reese turned out to be, like, love
actually,
it.
He's such a good guy. Like.
Yeah, love it, but also, like, it's Damon Salvatore, isn't it? 2.0, like...
Yeah, there's so many, like, parts of ACOTAR that I just feel like were kind of, like, stolen from other things, like Harry Potter.
Which is what you do, isn't it? Like, that's how good stories are told. So, like, no shade on that at all, but, like, you, as a millennial woman, know what you're in for, like, you know what you're signing up for, because it's following something that you've seen before and that you know the other girlies want. And
and I think, like, all of us, especially, like, our age group to, like, maybe Gen Z, are all, like, looking for some kind of escape, and she's providing, like, it's completely different to real life, and so it's so easy to get immersed and, like, obsessed with it, even though, like, maybe it's not, like, no.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Literary genius. Yeah. Oh my god.
I think she kind of is, though, like, because that's a big argument for, like, Sarah J. Maas's work, isn't it? That she's not, like, as intelligent as other fantasy writers.
Yeah,
like, I've not...
But she's not trying to be, like...
She's telling you a story, and the story's bringing you on a journey. Like, that's fucking intelligent. Like, do you know, like, try and write, like, a 10-page story and let's see how well you do. Like,
like,
never mind, like, a 600 page. Yeah, there is some bad books out there. I've read a lot of them. But yeah, basically, we fell into this ACOTAR universe, and it's been really good escapism. And we love a bit of escapism.
Yeah, and so hopefully we can kind of carry this on and take on recommendations from other, like, avid readers who are kind of in that, like, fantasy to romance, because we're kind of swinging between the two. Like, I'm reading a lot more romance now from, like, Maria's recommendations, and so like, I think
I would say, like, what you were reading before ACOTAR was, like,
like, novellas that are kind of just, like, very, like, real world, but not romantic in any way. Like, I want to say, like, youth novels that are more, like, about, like, sad, depressing things rather than romance. Like, I'm not... I would
You weren't reading for that level of escapism that something like ACOTAR provides, whereas I've been reading for escapism for, like, 2 years, I would say now. Like, I've been into the Emily Henry universe. Like, huge Taylor Jenkins Reid fan. Like, and I intersperse it with, like, other novels, because I'm from a big reader family. My mum is, like, Stephen King's fucking biggest fan. Like,
you should see the spare room at their house. It's like just Stephen King shrine. It's crazy.
And, like, holy water sprinkled throughout, because they're like a hardcore Irish Catholic family. So there's like really scary Stephen King books with, like, little bottles of, like, freaking Mother Mary.
Just to, like, ward off the demons that any kind of horror books might bring in.
Yeah. So they're all massive readers. Like, my dad's a huge reader, and obviously he's been, like, they all read for escapism in my family as well. So, like, my dad's super sucked into, like, that what's he called? That guy that wrote all the dad books. Everyone knows them. American, like, muscle man, also a genius, saves the day, Jason Bourne style.
The one that there's a series of?
Yeah, it's not just a series, it's like fucking...
the films with Tom Cruise and... What is...
like Jack Reacher. Yeah.
Jack Reacher.
Yeah, he wrote Jack Reacher. Yeah, so that guy, like, my dad's, like, super into that, but he also reads, like, loads of other books, like...
That's so dad of him.
Yeah, it is. Very dad, yeah. Then my mum is, like, horror books through and through, like, obsessed. My sister will read mostly sci-fi.
I just had a heart attack.
I can't even remember I was talking about that. Because everyone's a reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I've been reading for escapism for a while. I don't even know how we got onto that tangent.
Yeah, we were just talking about, like...
like, Roche reads loads of, like, sci-fi. My brother reads loads of, like, literally anything. He's a massive fantasy. Like, he's in all the fantasy realms. I think, like, everyone got, at least all the boys got into it from Game of Thrones, right?
Thrones,
yeah.
yeah.
That sounded weird coming off my tongue. And, like, Game of Thrones was filmed in Belfast, so, like, that was just fucking massive.
Like, such a big thing in Belfast.
Yeah. So, like, everyone got into those books. So, I'm from, like, a big reader family, so I've never, ever stopped reading. And I'll always read to escape. That's, like, the thing, like, I've always done.
I feel like that's just everyone though, isn't it? Like, that's the whole point of books in general.
But then that's why I can't get behind these, like, sometimes I'll pick up a book and, like, it's got, like, I don't know, like, 25 different awards and is being praised by, like, everyone and their fucking grandma. And I'm, like, and I'll give everything a good go. Like, I'll get halfway through something and I'm still, like... What?
I don't think I've ever tried to read anything just because it's, like, critically acclaimed. Like,
oh, see, I'll always, if someone I trust gives me a recommendation, I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one for me is, like, June. I tried to read June. No idea what's going on. Literally just felt like I needed to, like, write notes because I just couldn't get into it. I've still not watched the films because I really wanted to read the book before I watched the films.
You've not watched that film?
I've not watched any of them.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know. And I love Timothée Chalamet. Like,
oh, but you won't have to watch that.
You hate
him fucking beating about on the floor.
Like, my brother's obsessed with June. Like, read all the books, and so that's, like, the main thing why, like, I would want to read that. And then, like, The Hobbit was, like, one of the first books I ever read. Like, I loved that universe. Like, that kind of, like...
Is that the first book you read?
No, Harry Potter was the first book I ever read.
Was it?
Mum used to read The Hobbit to me when I was, like, a baby, like, when I couldn't read. Like, we'd go to the caravan and, like, she would read that as, like...
Kids read loads of books these days, you know, like, all my nieces and now nephews, like, literally, like, they love books. It's crazy. I cannot believe... So like, how much they fall into those worlds as well. That's what I want to, like, I want to trip and fall into that world, like...
Yeah.
I want... And it doesn't have to be, like... It doesn't have to be romantic or a heroic story. Like, it can be like a Stephen King novel where I'm literally petrified, but I still want to see it. I want to feel it around me, like some kind of VR. Like,
yeah, Stephen King novels are actually really, like, immersive, I feel.
Yeah,
like,
immersive, perfect word. That's what I want to feel.
Yeah, like, you're just not in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm in someone else's full-on... something they're creating off a page.
But I think that's why I've got so into these books, is because I feel like everything that I've read, and possibly it's just the mindset that you're into where you're really willing to just kind of, like, dive into it. And obviously that has to do with my like my ease of, like, getting into, like, dragon stalking or whatever else.
See, but then is there anything that will take you out of it? So, like, because if dragons start chatting, so it's going to take me out of it. Yeah,
so my thing is Crescent City. I can't get into that because of how, like, urban it is, and because it has these, like, real world, like nightclubs and, like, drugs, and, like, for me...
I mean, ACOTAR has nightclubs.
Yeah, it's different. It's, like, grimy, and, like, these... There's, like, these issues that are, like, a bit too real, where it's, like... about, like, sex work and, like, yeah, like, overuse of taking drugs and stuff. And for me, that's not fun. Like, I don't think it's fun for anyone.
Whoop, whoop.
But, yeah, like, I don't know. I'm really, really trying to read it. Yeah. And mostly because everyone else that's read ACOTAR loves it. And I just can't. I think I'm, like, half of the way into the first book.
Have you been listening to it or reading it?
I've been reading it audiobook. Like, it took me, like, 10 tries to listen to, like, 5 chapters, and it still didn't go in, so I got them on my Kindle app on my phone, and yeah.
Read it instead.
Yeah, I think I will get through it. I'm struggling, and I do like the main character. I think she's complex, and I like, relate to her, but it's almost, like, too raw that I don't want to, like, relate to her.
Why?
She's just going through a lot. Like, and, like, I think that's the issue. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm Feyre and I'm with Tamlin, who is obviously, like, a walking red flag. Yeah, by the way, it's, like, a couple of days before the 5th of November here, so there's probably going to be fireworks.
Yeah, that's going to sound so scary on that.
So one of the things we have that we're going to talk about in this episode is what female main character we see ourselves as. Or
like we've related to, or something like... Because I don't think I fully see myself as any female main character who's been written. Nor will you ever. Like, you're never gonna slay dragons.
Well,
you're never gonna find Marie Sand. And also, like, if we were put in those situations, we'd probably literally react 100 times differently. But, like...
Run for my life.
Yeah, but there's, like, somewhere you've read it and you've been like, oh, that hits. Something hits that's something within you that you can really relate to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that I thought of was Selena from Throne of Glass, possibly because it's just what I'm kind of, like, obsessed with right now. But I would say, like, her personality is more something that I would want to be like her, like, complete confidence and, like...
So give like quickly like a Throne of Glass overview of who Selena is.
So Selena starts out as, like, an assassin, kind of, like, trained to kill, like, honed, like, a weapon for, like, most of her life. And the book kind of begins, I think she's 16 or 17, like, when Throne of Glass, like, actually starts.
Yeah, I think she's 18.
Is she 18?
Or did she just turn 18?
Maybe just turned 18, because I feel like she's, like, what I would consider, like, very young.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it must be, because she kind of, like, goes missing when she's 8, and then it's 10 years, so it must be, yeah. Like, that's, like, a very, like, thing of, like, 10 years of, like, pretending not to be myself kind of thing, which is, like, one of the reasons I feel like a lot of us, like, can relate with, like, especially when you're, like, a teenager, you don't want to be, like, you don't feel like you can be, like, authentic.
No, for sure.
Yourself.
Like, and I feel like the older I get, the more myself I am. Like, I don't feel like I was ever myself until, like, 2 years ago. Truly.
Yeah, literally. I feel like when you get to, like, the end of your 20s, we're both 30, by the way, which is why this is, like...
we can look back on it and be like, oh, to be 18 is so young.
Yeah, I feel like we're just both, like, very, like, authentically, like, ourselves, and, like, I'm not, like, ashamed. Whereas when you're, like, 18, you're kind of, like, figuring a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, and even in your early 20s, like, we were figuring loads of shit out about who we were and how we were in certain situations and stuff. But I see, like, so obviously Selena goes on that journey of, like, self-discovery, which I'm sort of in the middle of now with reading it. But I do see, I can, like, it's funny because I'm reading Charlotte's copy of...
So it's got all of my, like... unhinged thoughts and feelings,
and I love it because she underlines, like, all the bits that I'm like, oh yeah, I can see you in that. Like, you're like, one of the notes was like, she's so kind. And I'm like, you are kind though, like, you are so kind.
But I think that's why, like, I've picked her, is that the whole kind of, like, I hate the phrase, like, moral of the story, but the whole kind of moral of the story is that there's all these kinds of, like, acts of kindness that Selena, like, on the surface, when you first read about it, like, I hated her when I first started reading. I was just like, she's so, like, up her ass, like, she's so obsessed with herself, narcissistic, vain, like, all of these things.
But I love that about her from the offset, because I love shit like that. I'm like, person. But
that's the thing, like, at first, my initial thought was that, and then I realised that it's almost like a facade, like, and it's that she's had to be so strong and had to, like, have that attitude towards people, towards herself, like...
Yeah, you adapt to your surroundings. You have to adapt to survive in the world, don't you?
Yeah, and so, like, the whole, like, epitome of, like, all the books is that she actually has given so much that you barely notice, like, in the first book. And obviously there is, like, the companion book, which has all these, like, novellas, like, stories.
Assassin's
Blade.
Yeah.
Which kind of, like, I didn't read Assassin's Blade because I wanted it to kind of be a surprise, and it was, like, whereas I think if you...
Well, that's not why you didn't read it.
Well, yeah, maybe that's... And so I think it's like all these little acts of kindness that she does, and eventually those people, it's kind of that thing of like, you know, like a butterfly to a hurricane, that kind of situation where you like have one...
I'm sorry, what? Butterfly to a hurricane?
Yeah, so what's the butterfly effect?
Yeah, what's it got to do with a hurricane?
So it's that a tiny little thing has such a large impact.
Okay. Yeah. Like, fucking hell, no, I just look really stupid.
and like, that's the whole thing, that she does these little things where you're just kind of like, you don't, like, I wouldn't underline them in my book or like make any kind of note of them.
Yeah, like inconsequential little acts that are just what she is, and like stuff that she does in every day.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that I would want for my life, is that I've like made an impact on other people, and like my like kindness and the way that I am is that I would see someone like struggling and maybe like do like something small that I feel like could help them, and then maybe like down the line, like that's what kind of like...
I love this, because like the person I picked it is literally chalk and cheese. Like, do you have any quotes that you've pulled out or anything that you...
No, I've not pulled anything out. Like, I mean, it is just like her like overall like character arc. Like, if you even just like the way like her name is revealed, I think is really like symbolic of like the change in her. And the book that you're reading right now, Air of Fire, is that change, and that's why Air of Fire is like my favourite book from the series, is because it's transformative, and maybe because that's how I feel like my life is right now, is that I really relate to like I want to like better myself, and that's kind of like
you're in one of those phases where you have a choice now to
like I could just dwell on like all the horrific things that have happened, or you can kind of use it, and that's like where she's at. Like,
love that.
The point that you're at in the story is her, and like my personality is that I don't want to use like Rowan as like her like trigger point, because it's a man, and like I don't want him to be like the reason, but he kind of is. Like, he does push her to that,
and it's like that's kind of like a literary device, right? Like a lot of stories will use another person to help the protagonist of a story find their voice, because it's one of the easiest ways to do it. But it doesn't mean that every single time that you need to, or in one of those phases of life, that you need it to be from another person.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not all, and if it is from another person, it doesn't always have to be someone romantic or someone that you're romantically linked to. So
no, and I think that's the best part about that book, is that at that point they're not romantic, and they're not for a long time, and that's really special, I think, in a romance book. Well, I wouldn't call Throne of Glass a romance book. It is kind of like fantasy with a subplot of romance.
A heavy subplot though, right? Like,
I mean, I don't think so. Like, do you feel like so far like there's been heavy romance? Like, there's no sex so far.
No, but like, I don't, like, you know how I feel about that. I don't think like romance needs to be sex.
No. But I just feel like I'm comparing it to ACOTAR, and that's why I don't think...
I think because I've read so much romance books. So romance books have a very typical layout and a very typical format they follow, of like how the protagonist is finding something about themselves out through that. And every book has been that. Like the first book, like where she was like thinking that she was kind of going to be with Dorian, but realising really that wasn't it. That was lending itself to exactly what was happening in that book alongside her with her life. Then the second one with Kaol, of, like I've said to you, how, and we will do a summary of this, like I've said 1,000 times, but like how she thinks and wishes she could be this human thing, and they could run away and live happily ever after, but then realises that actually that's not her life. Again, that book only follows that format really well because it's being told through that romance. And the next one, I'm already introduced to Ron. I'm 20 pages in, like, and I'm already introduced to him, and I know that this part of that story is being told through that. So to me, I think that they are romance books because they're being told through that lens.
Yeah, see, I like don't see that, but I think Nehemia as her friend is like, she's the reason why in that first book that it triggers that change, because she's under so much pressure. Like, Nehemia's sacrifice is like, insane. Like, if you put it in, like, real world
I can't relate.
you would never. But I just think, like, she knew that there had to be something that would, like, push her.
She said that. She said, like, Nehemia literally said whenever, that was in the second book, wasn't it, when she literally said that she had to that ghost woman, Elena.
The ghost woman.
She literally said to her, like, I need to do this thing, because that's why I said to you I thought she killed herself. But she did sacrifice herself. But she spoke to the ghost woman and was like, I need to do this because it'll push one of them to, the other one's obviously Dorian, because we find out he has magic. It'll push one of them to the limit we need to get them to finally accept who they are. So, like, it's being laid throughout the whole book. I do agree that, like, there is other relationships that are helping that, but I think when you read a lot of romance, you can see that this follows that typical romance kind of like outline almost to the story discovering itself. But I think we'd be hard pressed for a lot of people to accept the Throne of Glass books if you took away that level of romance too.
No one would read it.
No,
because that's what makes it kind of special.
Yeah, romance gives stakes. It gives like what's the word I'm looking for? Like build up, and it gives like intensity, and it pushes stuff forward. Like, so I don't see anything wrong with romance, but I do think like you're relating more to the stuff that's happening outside of that. Yeah. But romance is given its structure, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your...
Okay,
I'm interested to know now.
So I went through all of my like Goodreads. And like straight away, as soon as we said like what female main character you, I was like, I'm Hermione. Like I like there's so much stuff where I'm not Hermione, but there is so much stuff where I'm like, yeah, like little nerd in school, like needs to be top of the class, has like her life follows a very like normal format, like goes to school, goes to uni, has friends, gets married, like that's a path I'm very much on. Like I feel like that was so me straight off the bat. But then I was like, and I think like I still think that I am Hermione, but I think like there's so much that happens in those that like if I went through all the books, there's loads of stuff that I wouldn't relate to. And also like that journey happens of Harry Potter when they're young. So it's like hard for me to say now that that's who I am. So I've picked Carrie Soto, who you don't know. So I'm going to give you like a synopsis of the book really quickly. So this is what the Goodreads synopsis says. So the novel opens in 1994, year I was born, when former tennis star Carrie Soto witnesses seeing her friend recorded 20 Grand Slam titles. What? Let me try this again. The novel opens in 1994 when former tennis star Carrie Soto witnesses seeing her record of a 20 Grand Slam titles shattered. She comes out of retirement, so back into tennis, at the age of 37, and makes an arduous journey back to the court to prove that she is the best female tennis player in the world. Right? So let me just say, like, this could never be me. Like,
I'm literally picturing you playing tennis and just like...
Could absolutely never be me. Like, no, I'm not a sporty person, but, like... And also, like, of these Taylor Jenkins Reid books that are about famous women, this is not my favourite one. But, like, Carrie Soto as a person is, like, I get it. Like, she is a villain. She's literally the villain in one of the other books of this series. Oh. Like, she's, like, projected in the media at all times to be, like, this hard-ass woman who is, like... just ruthless, and like one of the main themes throughout is like, if you compared me to a man, and if I was a man, you would say that I'm incredible. And I've actually pulled some quotes from it, because like her disdain and like acceptance for how the world works for men versus women is a huge part of this story. I feel like that's something I talk about all fucking time. Literally. So like I just relate to that so much. Like one of the greatest things in this book is like some men's childhoods are permitted to last forever, but women are so often reminded that there is work to be done. It's such good quotes. Like, I had to like really limit myself for this. One of the great injustices of this rigged world we live in is that women are considered to be depleting with age and men are somehow deepening. I'm sorry, like my husband gets called like the most handsome man all the time now. Like Kurt turned 30 and everyone was like, oh, what a gorgeous boy. And then it's like, oh, you could do a bit more makeup, right? Oh, you're gonna get Botox soon. Oh, like, and I'm literally like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, like I'm not wasting away. Like,
yeah, I've never felt more myself at 30.
Yeah.
So like, and obviously I love Kurt, like he is a handsome man. Just to say, like, no shade on my own husband, but like that is a great injustice. Like, can relate, Carrie, completely get it. And then like her other main thing is she has this like, the whole story is about her coming out of retirement because someone has shattered something that she had done. So she has this like innate need to be better and to be the best and to be like, she's like, fuck, like I need to get back out there because they've ruined my record and my legacy. And like, spoiler alert for anyone who's not read Carrie Soto, it's like her realising at the end that she doesn't need that. That's not who she is. Yeah. Like, it doesn't fucking matter what the rest of the world thinks about her. She doesn't need to be the best. She is who she is. Like, and it's told through a romance lens. Like, I'd say it's a bit more subtle. Like, all Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, I would say, like, are a lot more subtle on the romance. But it is told through that lens of self-acceptance in the eyes of others. But I've, like, yeah, I think, like, me and Carrie Soto have a lot in common.
I feel like that like drive, like if someone like wronged you in any way, you would kind of like they would write a book about you because you would do like something
unhinged.
Yeah, like I feel like you'd take it real personal, but like you do it like coolly, like where like no one would really notice until you'd done it, and then we'd all be like, oh my god, like this is what you've been working on. Like
I am like it, like if we go back to like books I relate to, I'm like evil queen material. Like I am never going to be the princess. Like I'm a villain origin story waiting to happen.
But I feel like that just builds on that like women being kind of like quieted because you are quite like you're just very set in like what your values are, and you're ready to like tooth and nail, like fight for it or like voice your opinion. And I think for a lot of people that can be really like intimidating, and like potentially like on the outside someone might write, like if you were her and the way you are, they would write these like articles of being like, she's a fucking hard ass. Like she's like
I genuinely think that would be me if I was like a famous person. Like I would be as hated as like Blake Lively is right now.
Yeah, literally like the whole Blake Lively thing. Yeah, like that would be you, because you do one thing that is only like a small percentage of your personality.
I think if you can, do you know what's really interesting? Like if you compare like how Cillian Murphy is in interviews.
Yeah, like why is that?
So Cillian Murphy is so dry to people in interviews, and people will make videos being like, can relate, like Cillian's the go.
Yeah.
And then like Blake Lively is like awful in a few interviews. They're given that kind of level of agreement,
because
and it's,
she's like outwardly like speaking what she's thinking.
Yeah.
And
she might not be a bad person. Like neither of them might be bad, neither of them might be good. We don't know either of them personally, but I think that huge difference between men and women is so prevalent in stories about famous people, and that's why I've pulled out Carrie Soto, because it's just I can really see like how much that impacts like my everyday life and like how I go about things. That I'm like, if that was on a heightened scale of fame, oh god, I couldn't even imagine. Like, so Carrie Soto is just such a good book. Like, I know it's not anyone's favourite. Like, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is probably most people's favourite. I mean, Daisy Jones.
Yeah,
like Charlotte's not read any of the Taylor Jenkins Reid.
No, like I struggle with like any kind of like real world romance. Like, although I have tried, like, what was the one that
Emily Henry you were reading, Book Lovers.
Yeah, read Book,
which was a bit of a bit Americana for her.
Yeah, I kind of loved it. Kind of like felt like I was reading a sitcom, but the humour in that is just like spot on, like real good.
Yeah, so I think like I'm dissimilar to like Carrie in a lot of ways, and one of the ones that I think is so funny when I read Carrie Soto's back is like she's like so fucking focused on tennis, like everything's tennis, like, whereas I have 45 million hobbies.
Yeah.
Like, I paint, I draw, I make clothes, I knit, I read, I write, like, there is not a creative hobby that I will not give 10% of myself to. Like, yeah. And I'll never do anything well. I don't even give a shit about that, because fuck, like, monetizing your hobbies, like. But like that is one of our main differences for sure. Also, she's got like kind of pushy parents. Like in the book, her dad is her coach.
Oh yeah, never.
That is not my dad at all.
Like, not a thing. But I do feel like if you were to drop you into like New York, like if you grew up like in that environment, you would be like some kind
Why
of like,
New York?
I'm just thinking of like a powerhouse, like,
okay,
like
right,
big city, like kind of like somewhere where people do like rise to the top. I feel like you would be at the top. Like if we were like,
I don't know, because I also like the older I get, I struggle to like not stand on the shoulders, but like trample on top of the bodies of others. Not like,
no.
Like, whereas I'm very much like, although I'm strong-willed and opinionated, I'm absolutely not scared to change my opinion. Like, if I was wrong, my first instinct is going to be, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
but then like
I'm gonna like keep arguing this until I'm right.
But then I'll have a breather and I'll be like, fuck, yeah, I was wrong. And then I'll be like, okay, obviously I was wrong. So I'm like, that's also like, if you change your opinion on something, you're never gonna like get to a Trump level of
oh my god. Yeah, just like
dominance, like world domination. Never gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love literally, like, honestly, such good books. Like, if you are looking for something that is in the realm of something you can fall into, but it isn't necessarily romance and it isn't necessarily fantasy, Taylor Jenkins Reid is literally who you need to pick up. Like, you need one of her books. It's so perfect. And everything in her books is about like finding balance, and like all, like especially this series that was about women and fame, it's all about like how like your physical appearance is your social currency, which I think is something all of us will relate to in this day and age. Like, that is something you're so invested in without even like meaning to be invested in it. You care what other people think about how you look. Like, this is the generation of like hotness is a currency. Like, a TikTok as an app is just aimed at being hot. Like,
yeah, like you can't escape it by like just literally going on your phone. It's just like a thing everywhere now.
Yeah, you have to engage, and like you always had to engage with it. And like all of Taylor Jenkins Reid books are set before the iPhone era, but they all talk about how your physical appearance is part of your social currency. Mm-hmm. Like, that is something you offer outwardly to the world. So it's always existed, more so to varying degrees, but like normal people like us now even feel it, because like, and you can be photographed by like your friends and family constantly, like, or you can be in the background of someone's fucking TikToks in a Tesco aisle. Like, you are not safe.
Like everyone's constantly like documenting everything these days.
Yeah, and you can be like, something like, to come back to the Blake and Killian thing, something can be like taken so far out of context. Like, this is so stupid, but I was like decorating my house the other day for some of my friends leaving for Australia, and I took a video of the decorations to send to my other friend who was like helping me out, who was coming round, and like Kurt's face at the end of it, he just looked so fucking fuming, and like that 1 second, he was fuming, to be fair, but like that 1 second of like him being like a face like thunder, like I literally thought to myself, like, if I posted this on TikTok, people would be like, leave your husband. Like, oh my God. there is no balance anymore. Everything is black or it is white. Like, there is no in between anymore. And like, if people see one little thing, it's like, do you remember that TikTok where it was like that girl who was like trying to film TikToks with her boyfriend when they were like on holiday in New York or something, and he was literally like
Yeah, you see a lot of that now.
And everyone was like, he's draining her, he's ruining. It's like, what? Like, not
you don't know them.
No, and not everyone wants to be on camera. Like,
no, I think if someone did that to me, I'd probably be caught like in the background, like spaced out.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh my god, she's a bore.
Yeah.
I'm probably just thinking, like, just in my own head somewhere. Like.
Yeah, you definitely are in your head somewhere.
And so, yeah.
But that's the thing, like, you don't need to, like, not everyone needs to be into being filmed or being recorded all the time. Like, the nuance is allowed to exist, okay? Like, and if it's one of your non-negotiables that your partner doesn't want to be in TikToks, then do like leave him. I mean, what an unhinged non-negotiable, but like that says more about you, I think. But yeah, like fine, like if that's non-negotiable for you, it's your boundary, your non-negotiable, you leave him. But like it's not a non-negotiable for most people in my life, I would say. But you've always at risk of being in other people's and being you're always at risk of being perceived. That is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I don't wish to be perceived. I did not give permission.
No more perceiving.
I'd love to do that.
What? Obliviate.
Which is completely like counter. Because we're literally being perceived.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I feel like that sums us both up. Like obviously, like we are not those people and probably never will be, but I think that's like a really good like example of like who.
Yeah, did we do well? Are we gonna high five? Like, go us.
We will let other people be the judge of that. Maybe we can ask Book Club like what they think of those like. But
that's
I think
such a good idea.
That's a good conversation though too to have like about what they think of themselves.
And we've got like a guaranteed audience of 3. So, Sarah, Lucy, Bridie, if you've all made it through,
you've made it this
far. Thanks, gals.
But yeah, I think this is like the general like idea of what we'll be talking about. Obviously, like we've got so many ideas of like what topics, and if anyone is watching this, like feel free to let us know like anything you kind of want us.
We're open to suggestions.
And yeah, I think that like will sum up like.
End of our first ever podcast.
Yeah, I think next episode will probably be quite like ACOTAR based because we're just about to finish this one, A Court of Wings and Ruin, with our book club. So we'll probably have a lot of content for that and maybe like a bit of a deep dive. Because I think I've already read all the ACOTARs, but I'm probably going to reread this and like make some notes so we can kind of go
before in 9 days.
Yeah. I can do that easy.
Love that for you.
It's not that big. But yeah, that's like where we'll be at for next episode. In hopefully like a week or so. Yeah.
And I think we're going to pull out like a dilemma, like, if this had happened to you, what would you do, almost to give it like advice? Because that's like almost how we approach reading these is very like personal. So like that's what we want to like sum up on every week.
Yeah, what was it like the other night I messaged you and I was just like, what would you do like if you were, I can't remember
you asked me what would I do if I fell into the cauldron, or
like,
had to go into the cauldron. Which we can talk about, can't we? We won't like ruin that, but that was such a funny conversation.
Because that especially is like such a difference in our personalities, and that's probably what this whole thing is going to be like. I think we both have very different like opinions on things, and so it's fun to like see both sides.
If anyone heard any of that, gotta wrap this up because bonfire night is just
it's gonna
upon us and it's noisy.
And it's just after that like 6 p.m. where everyone just starts setting off fireworks here in the UK. I don't know if it's like different elsewhere, but
well, nowhere else has it. It's an England thing. Right?
Oh, just like the time thing. Because you can't like light a bonfire before 6 p.m. and stuff.
Oh, I thought you meant like the
oh no,
Guy Fawkes thing.
Yeah, Guy Fawkes. No, I know that. But like like setting off fireworks and stuff, you're not allowed to do it until after 6 p.m.
Why? Right, we've got to go. We've got to go.
So yeah, if you made it this far,
yeah,
thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, amazing.